All right, for this section, I would suggest you have your exponent and power table out because we're going to be solving for x. And our goal is to have it so that the bases are the same, like 10 and 11. So that the bases are the same, we can actually just ignore the bases and have the exponents become our problem. So for instance, I could add the 2x over, and then I could divide by 4. So my answer is going to be 2/4, 1/2. You can do the decimal version. On 11, again, those bases are the same, which is what I like. And I can just add the 3x over, which gives me 5x equaling 0. Then I can divide by 5, and I'll get that x is 0. So I'd like 12 to look a little bit more like 10 and 11, so I'm going to move the 4 over. And when I do that, I get a 1. And so the exponent row that has both 5 and 1 is going to be a 5, which means I can leave the left one alone and make the right one 5 to the 0. And now when I'm done, x is 0. The next one, what row can hold both 6's? So for now, you guys, I'm just going to ignore that. And the right side's good. And the left side is as well, except to make 1/6. Because 6 to the first is 6, right? But to make 1/6, that exponent's now going to become negative. And then with my 12 in front. And then I'm going to have negative 1 times 12 equaling x plus 3. And then if I just subtract that 3, I'll get x to be negative 15. My next row, what row holds both 16 and 8? And that would be a 2. So 2 to the 4th power is 16. 2 to the 3rd power is 8. Put those original exponents in parentheses. And now we can take 4 with 3x plus 1, set it equal to 3 with negative x plus 3, and then I'll distribute. All right, and we're ready to solve, so I'm going to add 3x over. I'm going to subtract 4 over. And then after I divide, I'm going to get 5/15, 1/3. The decimal value doesn't matter. On 15, again, there's a fraction, so I'm just going to look right now for 125 and 5. So 5 to the 3rd power is 125. 5 to the 1st power is 5. And then the only thing that made it a fraction was that the 1 was negative. All right, going to the original exponent. Now I can ignore those bases. I can distribute the negative 1. And I can add the 2x over. And then divide by 5 to get negative 1/5. 16. The row that has 3 and 27 is 3, so I don't have to touch the left side. But 3 to the 3rd is 27 with my original exponent. And now I have 2x take away 3 with 3 in the x plus 5. So just distributing, I'm going to subtract the 2x over. Then I'm going to subtract the 15 over. So I get x is negative 18. All right, moving right along. What row holds both 32 and 4? And that would be 2. So 2 to the 5th power is 32. And 2 to the 2nd power is 4. And if we make that to negative, now we can get the 1/4 along with my original exponent. So now I'm going to have 5 equals negative 2. Distribute that. And now I'm going to add 2 over, divide by negative 2, and I get negative 7/2. All right, let's go to 19. So what exponent has both 3 and 27, or base, sorry. So 3, so I don't have to touch this one. And 3 to the third. So now I'll have 2x timesing the 2 equaling the 3. And if I quickly divide, I get x to be 3/4. All right, 18, a little bit of a challenge. What I don't like is that I have two bases of 4. So if you remember, if the bases are the same, I can actually just add those exponents up. And now that my bases are the same, focus on the exponents. So I'm going to get 3x plus 5 with x minus 1. Kind of run out of room, so I'm going to subtract the x over. Then I'm going to subtract the 5 over. And then once I divide, I get x to be negative 3. Negative 3. All right, just a reminder, working with e is just like working with a number. Pi is 3.14. E is like 2.71. So when we do this stuff, all those things we did with our exponent rules can apply to an e here as well. So this is just about making houses. And then the e to the negative 2 would move to the top. My 2/8 would simplify into 1/4. And all my e's will actually add up to 10 e's. All right, in the next one, the exponents just happen to have x's with them as well. So as far as my answer goes, everything's going to be in the numerator. And if I add my exponents, I just get 7x. 23, making my houses. So 3 can go here, e to the 2x, 4, e to the 5x, 8, and e to the 3x. So as far as my numbers go, this can become 1/2. So I'll have 3 over 2. And if I add up all my x's, I got 10x of them. All right, this one I'm just going to distribute my negative 4 in. So I'm going to 4 times 2 to the negative 4th times e to the negative 12x. So the 4 can stay on top. 2 to the negative 4th moves to the bottom and becomes 16. So does the e. And then this just becomes 1/4. Can't do anything with that e to the 12x, so it just stays there. All right, last part. Here are the word problems. You will have your takeaway page, so just pay attention to which formula you need and what happens. So you invest $700 in the stock market and you earn 9% per year compounded continuously. So that's that third formula. So the exponential model, now just quick note here, you are expected to show all work in the section. That means you write down everything you will be putting into your calculator. All right, so I'm going to begin with 700. Compounding continuously is e. It's going to increase. I'll have a positive rate of 0.09 to the t power. So how much money would I have in 8 years? All right, so I can just put 8 in there directly and then use the regular screen of my calculator and get this answer. Nothing special about this one. How long will it take you to double your money? So if I start with 700, doubling it becomes 1,400. And this can go into a Y. This can go into a Y. As far as, your window range, for X, I said 0 to 30 is a pretty good guess to use. And if I look at my highest Y values, that's 1,400. So I'm going to use that with some wiggle room. And I just did 2,000. So I went to my window, adjusted it. I looked to where they intersect. As long as I didn't type anything in wrong, I got this as my final answer. All right, next one. We buy a car of $36,000. It's depreciating at a rate of 11% per year. There's no compounding, so I'm just going to use that regular formula. So I'm going to do 1 minus my percent as a decimal to the t power. How much will my car be worth in 5 years? So I'm just writing this all down with a 5. And then I'm going to go to the regular screen of my calculator, type this in, and get this as my answer. All right, how many years will it take for the car to lose half its value? So that means we're going to drop to 18,000. And I'll go ahead and put this in a Y and this in a Y. As far as my window goes, again, I think 0 to 30 is a safe bet for X. My biggest X is 36,000, so I'm going to give it some wiggle room. So I just went to 50,000 on mine. And then I'll, enter them into the Ys, enter my windows, and I will see that I get 5.948 years. All right, last problem. So here we are going to be compounding quarterly. It pays, so it's gaining value. So we deposit 5,000 into our account with 9.4% annual interest, compounded quarterly. So that means our N is going to be 4. So just that general exponential model. All right, there's 0.094 as a decimal. Quarterly is 4 times a year. How much money will I have in 7 years? So again, you got to write down what you're going to type in. And this is just on the regular screen of my calculator. And assuming I didn't type anything incorrectly, this is what I got. How long will it take you to reach 12,000? All right, another one where we will have to solve for using the graphing calculator feature. And again, I think a safe bet for X is still 0 to 30. Your Y, if your biggest Y is 12,000, let's give it wiggle room. So I just did 20,000. So I entered the equations into Y, changed my window, and then I found the point where they intersect. And I got 9.423 years. All right, how much money should you have invested if you wanted an account balance of 14,000 at the end of 4 years? So that means I'm going to have 14,000 here. And this time I'm actually trying to figure out what X is. And 4 years. So there's 2 ways you can do this. One is you can put this into Y1 and Y2. When thinking about a window for Y, we know that our biggest value is going to be 14,000. And we're just trying to figure out how much we invest. So I can still stick with 0 and some wiggle room of 20,000 for Y. But as far as X goes, I don't know how much. I just know that, for instance, X is going to be the lower amount that I'm investing. So I would still stick with 0 and keep the same wiggle room. So I can use my Y buttons and change my window. The other option you have is to actually just solve for X and realize that all of this is actually just a number. And so to get X by itself, I could divide by everything that's in that yellow highlighted area. And on my calculator, I would just type this in. 14,000 divided by all of this. And 4 times 4, I would just put 16. Either way you solve this, you're going to realize that you need to solve, or $9,654.34. And that is your review for Chapter 6.